You're on mute, Amit. I think your speech is not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Welcome to Vision India Forum, Amrit Mahotsav series. Thank you for all the gentlemen. Vimal Vakluji, former CMD TCIL, one of the many Ratnas of the Government of India, Lieutenant General Consul Himalay Singh, First Lieutenant General of Northeast India, and all these are three of you are friends of the forum because you guys have been supporting this selflessly. Major General Ranjit Singh Ji, training in the army. He's been training the people academically in the army and also yoga expert world over, fanatic, spreading the message of yoga in the world, and former Vice Chancellor of Central University of Haryana as well. Today we talk about VIP culture. 75 years, English, British are gone. We still live in the shadows of Babudam. We still live in the shadows of, slavery. The culture, the mindset is still the same, and it is something which has been patronized ever since independence, directly and indirectly. Somebody told me, why don't you get the real decision makers on board? But then the decision makers would not be interested in such an issue because then they will be, indulging in a self goal. That is what I understand. Probably that is the reason why they have shied away from this important issue. Who would like to, cause detriment to their own privileges? So VIP culture, it's a stigma, it's a parasite, it's a termite, it's a evil in the society. 150 crore people probably by now, officially and unofficially, and then the VIP culture with the growing impact of money, growing impact of fast money, growing impact of lawlessness, politics driving the policing in the states, and people getting access to social media all over the country. Things are at the click of a button. All these things, I mean, we are I don't want to sound as if we are approaching doomsday, but this VIP culture definitely is an instrument which shall be a catalyst if we are to approach and reach the doomsday. So let's talk about the VIP culture in India and try and see to it, especially considering that Vision India's objective is to ensure that the right issues are brought to the fore in front of the right decision makers, at least the policy makers, the public at large, through the social media platforms. So let's talk about VIP culture, the issues and the solutions going forward. Over to you. Opening remarks from Major Ranjit Singh Ji, because Major Ranjit Singh is in a habit of speaking, very few words, but to the point.
Thank you, Amitji. General Himalaya, sir, and my other colleague. Thank you very much. I'll be in another webinar of a university where very important issue, education trends and challenges. There also I'll cover the same. Amitji, बहुत अच्छा topic लिया है आपने. The VIP culture will not go from this country. You can see Britishers have gone, Mughals have gone. We worship Mughals, we worship Britishers, even in the schools, in fact. Prime Minister got 21st June, declared a yoga day. How many schools? 15 lakh schools. Not a single school is following the holistic development program of the Prime Minister. The new education policy was announced. Nothing is being done on the ground. So therefore, the VIP culture definitely, Lal Bati may have gone, but these people definitely, whether it's bureaucrats or the politicians, you see them, you can't access. Can I meet the Chief Minister when it comes to Gurgaon? No. I have been trying. You can't meet the Chief Minister. And that too, being the government person. So therefore, Amitji, this is definitely a challenge. Bhakti has been removed. You see meetings, you keep waiting in meetings, they won't come, they'll come at the end, and they'll just come for 2 minutes. Baki aap घूमते रहिए, school में जाइए. The principal won't let you go into meet you. The political class, long, lambi list, you want to meet them, I mean, sorry, they will not allow you. Secretariat, whether it's the central government or state government, keep floating around in the verandas and corridors. Morning mein jayenge aap, you will not get time. These people will be having one meeting or the other meeting. So therefore, it is definitely is a bigger problem unless we start at school level. When right from school level, they see, yes, this is what is required. वहां से values डाली हमने, we may avoid this culture. Otherwise, I don't think there is any future, there is any solution for the current problem. They go without batis, but you see these vehicles, they still get VIP treatment. The SP's car, you see, whenever the SP is moving, a general will not be allowed. I'm telling you frankly, but he will be allowed. The inspector's vehicle will be allowed. Other day, you have seen that incident, how they were bashing away Fauji. He told that I'm a Fauji. Still, the VIP culture. I'm an inspector. You are an inspector, you are a government servant. He's also a government servant. So therefore, it is very pathetic to talk about this topic, but I don't think in the near future we'll be able to improve on this aspect. Thank you, Majid.
Even I don't think so. I don't want to sound negative or pessimistic, but then realistic is the right word probably. But we can only try and create, a minor impact by doing these kind of initiatives with people like you, who are selflessly contributing to this forum's initiative, and we shall be looking forward to doing this over the next few years. All goes well. Lieutenant General Qasim Himalaya Singh ji, just now Major General Ranjit Singh told about a general's vehicle stopped, but even a head constable has to be, I'm not comparing. I mean, no, everybody is fine, but then, what are your views on this?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your giving me this opportunity at the outset. In a government setup as huge as India, some kind of a hierarchy, some kind of a order of precedence or something is required. Certain, right on the top is President of India, and thereafter the ministers and bureaucrats and very ranking order of precedence is notified by the government of India, and according to their position and responsibility, some kind of privileges are required for the system to function. However, what is happening in the country today is that every junior ranking officers and then right to various other political and bureaucratic officials who are not really the VIPs. When I say VIPs, I suppose that those people have a much greater responsibility as per the Constitution. That's why they have been classified as VIPs. So some of these VIPs are entitled to certain privileges. But what is happening on ground is that it is a gross misuse and a gross violation of all the rules and regulations, keeping the entire population into some kind of great inconvenience. That kind of a VIP culture, which amounts to inconveniencing the other, number one, and two, who are not entitled. Otherwise, today everybody expects, some kind of entitlement, right from as General Ranjit said, a junior ranking officer like a SP or SP rank or a DIG rank, moving around with escorts, blue red lights in the car, and they expect the MLAs and even a Gram Panchayat fellow moving around with red flag and this flag, and those are what is required to be checked. And I can count number of incidences which needs to be curbed. I think it is known to everybody. The sense of entitlement to people who are not holding constitutional appointments. I think this needs to be curbed at very, very ruthlessly. I agree with General Ranjit that it has gone too far in getting everybody wants to get the entitlement faster and everybody wants greater entitlement to them and their families. So this must end. And it is high time in a society like ours, we cannot have this. I can give you a few examples. To my horror, I found that even some kind of contractors getting, escorts in Northeast India, in some states, contractors. Can you believe it? Those, and incidentally, those contractors happen to have very dubious record, and they are being provided with police escorts and all. It smacks of any kind of rule and in the country. So therefore, I totally endorse your views and endorse the views of General Ranjit, who said that this must be put an end. Earlier, the better for the society. Thank you.
Thank you. Amit ji, I'll have to leave because I have to go. Himalaya sir, I'll beg your leave, sir.
Yeah, I'm also in somebody's house, and Amit told me to join for
Thank you,
20
sir.
minutes.
Thank
Yeah, all the best. Bye.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Vakluji, your comments on this particular topic as we start now. And we shall be joined by somebody from NHRC also. But for the time being, let's talk about what we've been discussing. And, we will have probably 15 more minutes of this show. And Vaklu Saab, your opening comments on this.
Sorry. The basic problem is the mindset. When we got independence, that time the politicians of this country felt that they are the successors of the Britishers. So they behaved the same way. And the bureaucrats felt that they were the successors of the British bureaucrats. So they also mentally had that particular orientation. In fact, it is at that stage, the orientation stage, that change needs to be done. Otherwise, the Prime Minister a few years back had ensured that this Lal Batti thing is over. So we were quite excited. But it has come in some other form or the other. And that shows that unless there is a mental change that happens, it will not get corrected. So that will happen at the orientation course when these bureaucrats are taught that they are public servants, not masters, because the impression is they are masters. Some of the bureaucrats feel that they are even the masters of the politicians, and they handle them very well. I mean, I have so many examples where I have seen even politicians, like senior politicians, sort of helpless when it comes to some bureaucrats. And when we see countries like China and other countries, there a foreign service person is like the business champion of the country. And the culture here in India is that even for government projects, because I have been in the government, when we used to request some of the, people from the embassies to help us out, because there were some, unnecessarily hurdles put on our path, they would say we are supposed to be sort of neutral. We are not supposed to support businesses. But I said, it is your project. It's a government project. They say, we are sorry, we are helpless. So this shows the mental orientation. So the change has come from there. And otherwise, there'll be a misuse, and then people don't respect. For example, I've spent a lot of time in Mumbai, almost 25 years. And people there are conscious of the fact that they need to, say, give way to, so for example, the ambulances. Once they see an ambulance, they hear an ambulance, you sort of leave a lane for the ambulance so that it's taken care of. But often it has been found, it happens in the other parts of the country, that doctors, nurses, and bureaucrats, they misuse that vehicle. There are no patients inside. Just to reach home fast, they'll do that. So this type of problem can only be corrected with some orientation. If it has not happened with Prime Minister's appeal, Prime Minister's action, I don't know. There's no other way out. Thank you.
General Himalaya Singh ji, orientation, is that the solution to people of this country?
I'm besides orientation, the enforcement, you have to firstly, as brought out, our culture, the culture, the mindset has to make a beginning towards a reduction of the VIP culture. As I said, let the real VIPs who are classified as VIPs, they need some kind of privileges that must be given. But if you count the number of so-called VIPs in India, it runs into many thousands and thousands. I think some 40,000 or something, and more than that. Whereas in United Kingdom, I think there are just about 60 or 70 VIPs, in the sense that who are entitled to a certain amount of public display of privileges. So we need to curtail in terms of regulations, curtail the number of VIPs, and then their authorization should be coded in the sense that it should not be a open-ended kind of a privilege that are taken by force by those who are in power, but it should be codified that, okay, so-and-so is entitled to be traveling by so-and-so, and then he's entitled to be received by, somebody at the airport and all that. If it is codified, then people don't mind it. The problem starts when those who are not entitled to, they ask for entitlement and they are given by the powers that be. So therefore, I think the enforcement, the various departments and various, various groups who are involved in enforcement of such a, like police department, the airports authority, and even the railways or even in the offices. So if it is codified, then nobody will mind it. So I think enforcement is one of the factors that must be considered. Besides training right from the beginning, as I understand, in various schools of training like IAS Academy and all, they are taught also in some way that they are the servants of the people and things like that. But the culture, organizational culture is such that once they come into that group, then the group behavior takes over, and the environment also make them such, that if they are to function properly, they need so and so such kind of privileges, and so that kind of a thing builds up. That's how we are in this state right now. So I recommend that enforcement and then codification of such privileges and the strict monitoring also will be required. Thank you.
Wakil sir, as our CMD of a public sector company, Miniratna company, what are the VIP privileges you enjoyed, or you yourself basically waived off, or you bypassed, or you did not avail of?
Well, there were some privileges like at the airport. While returning back to the country, of course, at the immigration counter, there was a separate counter for all, I would say, called the VIP counter. Yes, I have availed of that. And it used to be a great, you can say, relief, because otherwise standing in the queue at unearthly hours for hours till you get cleared from the at the immigration counter here, that used to be a problem. And besides that, I don't think there were any other privileges yet. There were a couple of cards, but I was supposed to pay for them. And I even paid tax on them. There was no free thing as such. But I remember when I was in Shillong for some time, the cars had that, special VIP light. But I felt that it's an embarrassment. I said, I don't want it. I mean, because, I still feel that we are servants of the people and should behave like that. That's all.
Qasim bhai, Lieutenant General Qasim Himalaya Singh ji, in the army, what are the broad contours of the, you have a different world of your own. You guys in the military, in the army, in the air forces, in the navy, you have your own world. You got your own cities, you got your own townships, you got your own facilities. So what are the contours of the, because you also are having so many hierarchies, right from the new joinees to the subedars, to the lieutenant generals, to the major generals, brigadiers, generals. So I'm sure you guys also follow some VIP hierarchy, culture, and all that. So what are the things that you have seen that in army? Probably some of them could be also. And what are the disciplines you follow in the army?
Okay, talking about the army, we spoke about the British culture and then we inherited after independence. I would say that the military also inherited some of the organizational cultures from the British Army or British, military. But we also discarded the cultures which are not really required in the Indian context. We only retained some of those which we felt was necessary for the organizational, culture to win wars, for the purposes of keeping the organization together, for the purposes of motivation, and for the purposes of, having that honor and elan amongst the certain ranking officers and that. But that does not mean that only the seniors enjoy the privileges. For example, our motto while commissioning is, we say that the safety, honor of the country comes first. The comfort and safety of the men we command comes next, and our own comfort and safety comes last, always and every time. That is our motto. And I think most officers, in fact, I can assure you that Indian Army functions in this credo, in this kind of a principle. Having said that, as a 3-star, I can talk about myself in command of even 3-star means as a lieutenant general in Jammu and Kashmir. I was in charge and commanding over 100,000 troops. So obviously, I was given certain, let's say, the pilots if I was moving by road, I was entitled to a helicopter in case I had to visit places which are remote areas where inaccessible by road. Such kind of a privileges, because if you don't, these are bound to the requirement of the duty. Such kind of privileges we enjoyed. Like in Jammu and Kashmir, I was entitled to security by our own troops because of the militancy and the insurgency situation there. That was operationally oriented entitlements. And, certain privileges like you are entitled to go by a business class in the, I don't know now it exists or not, business class in the, airlines. Then you are entitled to certain, we have the flags, the formation flags that I command. And these are related to the organizational efficiency and organizational culture. However, some people, there has been instances where many have misused such kind of a privilege. I can, like, for example, use of manpower, VIP culture. Somebody like I can say that we are entitled to one person in uniform, to really look after my military affairs. So I used to be very, very harsh with anybody who are entitled to one and they are trying to employ more than one. Such kind of things I used to enforce very, very strictly, even by warning some of the senior officers. So it has to be bottoms up as well as from the top down also approach. As I said, military privileges are there in Sandham. We were entitled to certain clubs. I think we inherited from the British. That was they're entitled to some officers' mess where we were given the opportunity to dine together, to eat together, to relax together. This was to create that bonhomie and brotherhood amongst the officer cadre. So this ours, the military privileges has specific, reasons behind such entitlements. I'm not saying that they were not misused by somebody. There have been instances of misuse of such privileges also, but we have the mechanism to effectively ensure that these are not misused. Thank you.
Waklu Sahab, do you think that orientation or is it, enforcement? What is the solution?
No, in my opinion, both are important, as has been provided, as has been mentioned by General Saab. Yes, orientation is one part. Implementation definitely is important, because if we see that as a part of orientation also, there'll be still people who will try to misuse things. And the only way forward is to ensure implementation. That is how things can be ensured. And in some cases, like the example I gave in the beginning about that ambulance thing, which is a very serious matter in my opinion, which can sort of save lives or do otherwise, people need to be taken to task if somebody misuses such a vehicle or something just for that, have a feel of that VIP culture. That's the thing. And I remember, I had a colleague, although in the domain of telecom, I don't see so much of challenge in terms of personal securities. But I had a friend from the Indian Telecom Service who, after a few months of his posting in Uttar Pradesh, had a vehicle protecting him and a couple of people sort of protecting him. So I asked him, "Yeah, what's this? Why do you need such a thing?" He said, "No, if the government provides, why shouldn't I avail?" I said, "But you don't need it." He says, "But it always gives a good feel." Now, this is the challenge. So if despite orientation, the problems continue, implementation is definitely very, very important. And those people who provide privileges to their juniors also need to be on a tight rope. They should realize that action would be taken even against them if they don't stop it. That way, implementation also is very important. Thank you.
In a society wherein if you don't show off, you are not moving in the, as per the times or the need of the hour, you are considered to be, somebody lower in a lower strata in the society. And it's like a catch-22 situation. If somebody, wants to abide by the, rules, play the game by the rules, then they are, kind of pushed by the kind of atmosphere, the environment, their colleagues, who probably would not be following such rules. And they are considered as outcast in that situation. So it's an overall social problem, I think, General Singh.
Yeah, I agree with you, Amit, that it's as I said, it's a cultural, socio-cultural aspect, which we have learned from the days of the Angrez and Mughals, that unless as a neta, unless 10 people follow you, you don't look like a neta. So that culture still prevails. So that culture, any change in the thought process or thinking or a mindset or culture, it takes time. But we must, as I'll repeat, we must codify who is a VIP, who is entitled to what, and then enforcement strictly by the rule that has to be done now because it has gone beyond the acceptable limits of a normal society. People have started developing distaste for such kind of a VIP culture too much by those not entitled. I mean, I'm focusing on this word. If you codify it, then enforcement becomes easier. If you don't, then everyone who wills jiske haath mein lathi hai, uska bhains wala. If you don't codify it, then anybody who has got a muscle power, anybody who has got a position, then he tends to misuse the privileges. He tends to grab more privileges than he's entitled to. So this is what I'm saying, that but the mindset and the cultural change has to come from the down below also while training, but at the same time, top-down approach of enforcement has to be done.
Gentlemen, I would, I think we'll keep beating around the bush in terms of talking the same point over and over again. There are many, wherever we look around in our society. My closing remarks, because we'll end the show today in the next 1 minute. My closing remarks is simple, that, look anywhere in this society today, we have, become quite different from what we were probably 75 years back, 50 years back, 25 years back. But the mindset of Babudom, mindset of VIP culture, show off, this is, entrenched. It has become part of our DNA, so much so that it is something which is inextricably linked to our existence in this country now. And the only way we can get rid of this is not only by whistleblowing, not only by, we need a mix of whistleblowing activities, activism around such issues. Now, red bacon replaced by the blue bacon. Earlier, probably somebody dared to use the red bacon. Now, nobody dare. I mean, nobody is scared of using the blue bacon. Nobody is bothered. And retirement, post-retirement, people keep using their, ranks on their cards. People keep using the official vehicles, official things for their personal uses. And people keep, even for the school drops of their kids, the government of India, Ministry of Finance, you can see Ministry of Coal, Ministry of this, Ministry of that. Everything is all the time, it's all intimidation. It's all, it's all a social statement, basically. The only way I think this can be tackled in this country is what happened in 1975. It was termed Anushashan Parv by J.R.D. Tata. It was, hailed by many, though it is something which is not a popular example. But then the recent most one would be much more popular and people will take it to it much easier than what I suggested, is the pandemic regulations. If we can make people, do whatever the Prime Minister wanted them to do during these 2 years, and the government of the respective states could make them do in the last 2 years, definitely this is nowhere as tough if we need to really have the intent. But the only issue here is, the opponent lawyers cannot play judges. That is the only problem. I hope you got the point. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you.